And the first thing I would like to talk about that is postmodernism. Now, it is one of the most slippery things to define because as we move from the age of darkness in Europe, or the Dark Ages, and then to the age of enlightenment, and after that to the 1960s and 1970s, we find that there is a certain kind of transformation in the nature of truth and the modus operandi with the help of which one can approach that truth. For example, you take the Dark Ages, and in the Dark Ages what happened that there was only one truth, and that truth was God, and it could be approached only through religion or the institution of the church. Now what happened that after the Renaissance? Well, a new temperament came into Europe, and that was science and technology, and a leaning towards rationale, logic, argumentation. That is why you would find so many treatises that are concerned with these logical arguments. And in this age, it was believed, verily perhaps, that there was a truth, but that truth was not God. That truth was science, and science could be approached and understood only with the help of logic and rationale. But as things went on and the social forces and economic forces, they started working in the 19th century especially, and we are talking of three major forces, that is the force of religion and the force of science, and of course the one given by Karl Marx, that is the force of communism. Now they became a sort of meta-narratives towards the close of the 19th century, and they extended even in the 20th century. But when you come to the 20th century, and especially after the 1960s and 1970s, we start realizing that the world around ourselves, or even our own consciousness, that is a kind of fracturing. And we come to the realization through the recognition and identification of different voices in society that there is not one absolute truth, that only God is not truth, that only science is not truth. In this stage, we start realizing that everybody has a perspective for the truth, and perhaps everybody's truth is a truth. So there is a great pluralism, and this pluralism also brings us to a lot of confusion. One of the primary characteristics, that is the postmodern. That is the coexistence of the ancient with the futuristic. That is how I define postmodernism. You look at a beggar sitting by the side of the road, and maybe you will find that he is sticking an iPhone to his ear and talking into it. Now look at this combination, the extreme poverty and of course extreme affluence. Even if it is economically not viable, there are certain forces, there are certain vectors that have brought these things about. That is the center that can become the margin, and the margin that can become the center. That is how we see postmodernism. So from meta-narratives, if you get especially into literature, you find that this meta-narrative is being rejected, and something new is taking its place, what we can call metafiction. And metafiction, of course, it is a kind of fiction that speaks about its own artificiality. Not only about its own artificiality, it also reflects upon itself, that it is self-reflexive. Plus, at the same time, we also find that it is self-referential, that many of these postmodern novels, or many of these postmodern works, they keep referring not only to the intertextual linkages, but also to themselves.